What's the difference between taking a human life and abortion?
Could you say it a little louder? I don't think I heard the whole thing.
I said, what's the difference between ending a human life and abortion?
Great question. What about abortion? Well, if abortion is simply removing excess skin, then obviously there's nothing wrong with abortion. I mean, you and I remove excess skin from our bodies all the time. We peel our calluses, we trim our toenails and fingernails. And if abortion is simply removing excess skin, well, then there's obviously nothing wrong with abortion. But if abortion is terminating a human life, motivated by selfishness, inconvenience, I'm sure we all would agree that abortion is wrong. So obviously the difficult question becomes, when does human life begin? Well, according to the simplest definition of human life that I know of, agreed upon in every major medical center in the United States, if a body lying on a bed in an intensive care unit has brain activity and heartbeat, doctors and nurses are ethically, legally responsible to do everything within their power to sustain that life. Brain activity and heartbeat. Fine. Between 4 to 8 weeks after conception, the, quote, little piece of skin, unquote, in a woman's womb has both brain activity and heartbeat. So I think it's real clear that to abort a fetus after the 4th week is to terminate a human life. And I would consider that murder. What about before 4 weeks, when there's no brain activity or no heartbeat? Well, the question becomes, what is the difference between a 1-minute-old fertilized egg, a 4-week-old fertilized egg, and you and me? There is no difference in kind. There is only a difference in degree of maturity. You are at the appropriate stage for a 20-year-old fertilized egg. A 4-week-old fertilized egg is at the appropriate stage for a 4-week-old fertilized egg. And a 1-minute-old fertilized egg is at the appropriate stage of development. There is no difference in kind. The only difference is in degree of maturation. That is why I am convinced that abortion is murder. But wait a second. We defined murder as killing motivated by selfishness, hatred, or revenge. If my wife is delivering a child and the doctor looks me in the face and says, it's either your wife or the child, I will say, doctor, get my wife out of that delivery room alive. Do everything within your power. And if we lose the child, so be it. But to abort a child motivated by selfishness, inconvenience, I am convinced is murder. That's why I take a strong stand against abortion. That's why I was very excited to see that insert in your University of Arizona newspaper yesterday, talking about a 13-week-old baby is not a choice. It's a child. It's a human life.
What about the people like the tribe in South America who never had contact with the gospel or things like that? How are those people judged?
This gentleman asks, how is God going to judge those people who've never had the opportunity to hear about Jesus? I do not know, because Christ never specifically addressed the issue. But the Bible makes 5 points that apply to your excellent question. First point, God's character is good. Nobody's getting ripped off, in other words. All of us will be judged uniquely, fairly, and justly. Second point, nobody's going to hell because of ignorance. Nobody's going to hell because of a low IQ, because they were stupid and made a mistake. Nobody. The only reason people are going to hell is because they choose to live their life separate from God. And on the day of judgment, God will look them in the face and say, your will be done. You wanted to live your life separate from me? I'm not going to force you to spend eternity together with me in heaven. You will spend eternity separate from me in hell. Third point, the Bible insists there are going to be a lot of people in heaven who never heard the word Jesus. Hebrews chapter 11 lists some of these people by name. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, Rahab, a Gentile prostitute, obviously never heard the word Jesus. They were born hundreds of years before him. But in humility, they put their faith in God, and they'll be in heaven. Fourth point, the only reason they'll be in heaven, the only reason any of us will be in heaven, Jesus insisted, is because he bled and died on a cross to absorb the penalty for human sin, human wrongdoing. In other words, none of us are going to be in heaven because we did more good than evil. None of us are going to be in heaven because we were good old boys or decent ladies. Because none of us are good as God defines good. We all are in desperate need of His forgiveness. And the way God offers us His forgiveness is through the death of His Son Jesus on a cross. Fifthly and finally, although I do not know specifically how God will judge those who've never heard about Jesus, I do know that all of us here have more than ample opportunity to read the Gospels, to look at the evidence for ourselves. You and I, all of us, are definitely responsible for what we do at Jesus. Thanks. Yes, sir.
So, I'm sorry if I misunderstood you. So you're saying if you think something that's a sin,
I'm sorry?
if you think something like about murdering someone, is that considered a sin
Good.
then?
Great question. If I hate you, that's a sin. If I hate your guts, that's a sin. If I lust after a woman, that's a sin. Because basically it's saying, this is trash. And the woman's a sex object that you can use to get a vicarious thrill. And God says, no, this is not trash. This is a man created in the image of God. And a woman is not a sex object. She's not a Barbie doll. She's a human being with a mind, a personality. Get to know her as a person. Don't use her as a sex trinket.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for raising that issue. Yes, sir.